Today's guest is Emma Doyle, the energy and high performance under pressure coach. A former Division I US college tennis player and national coach for Australia, Emma now brings that same high performance mindset to the corporate world. As a partner of Open Door Coaching USA and a Vistage global speaker, Emma helps leaders unlock potential, build a coaching culture, and lead with curiosity and empathy. Her Leader as Coach workshops are known for being energetic, practical, and deeply impactful. Recently, Emma was named a top new speaker for Vistage in the US. She's also a TEDx speaker, host of the Coaching Podcast, and author of What Makes a Great Coach. Emma Doyle, welcome to Vistage Live.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. I just think your background's really interesting. We can get on to coaching in a minute. So tell me about your tennis career.
Sure. Well, it's one of those things that I know not everybody has an early epiphany, but imagine being a tennis player and not doing very well, getting beaten quite frequently in the 12s, and I was quite small and skinny and, one of those situations where the taller kids just beat me. Yeah. And then slowly but surely I started to play a little better, but there's actually a great story around it, because when I was 14 years of age, after a paper round, that wasn't a great return on my investment as an entrepreneur.
And this is in Australia?
In Melbourne.
Yep.
And my coach said I could have an extra private tennis lesson a week if I coached for his business one night a week. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. Yeah. I was one of 4 kids and parents really couldn't afford a private lesson.
Yeah.
So I came off the court from coaching these kids and I was like, this is the greatest job in the world. I want to be a coach. Now, I know not everybody has that aha moment, but it was something that was really different from playing tennis. I enjoyed playing tennis, but I enjoyed the coaching element of it.
What was it about coaching as a teenage girl that kind of caught your spirit?
Yes, it was the ability to honestly be a kid, be playful, and see the joy in their faces when they can go from, just connecting to hitting it over the net. And, of course, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just watched the coach on the court next to me and copied and just had that early epiphany that I wanted to be a coach. So fast forward, because you asked about my tennis. I promise I'm getting there.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah, so I had that moment where I got into the course of my dreams, sports coaching and administration at Deakin University in Burwood. And in walks the great David Parkin, and I'd been a Carlton supporter since the age of 5, and he was the coach at the time, and I'm in awe. And he's so passionate, and I was like, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Fast forward 6 months into the degree, and he pulls me into his office, and I was like, uh-oh, what have I done? Right? And he said to me a question I'll never forget, which is just an awesome coaching question for any listeners out there. And he said, do you want to be the best coach you can be? I was like, yes, what have I got to do? He said, have you maximised your playing potential? Have you become the best player that you can be? And I thought, gee, what a bizarre question. I said, it's like, absolutely not. There's this thing in America called college tennis. I know nothing about it. Put my VHS video in the mail, sent it away to 10 colleges. First one that rings or writes back is where I'm going to go. And this guy rings up, and here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, we have a low crime rate. I was like, hey, Mum, what's a crime rate? I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, I don't care, I'm coming. 56 hours got snowed in Chicago. Anyway, long story short, I find myself in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Right.
And I'm playing number 1 for the team, and the girl down the other end is just as good as me.
Yeah.
So I had that moment that I understood why Parko encouraged me to maximise my playing potential. If I wanted to coach at the highest level of the sport, he wanted me to experience what it felt like to push myself to my absolute limit and maximise my potential. So while I didn't go on and play professionally, because I come against so many girls, I'm like, her forehand's great, her backhand's great, how am I going to beat her?
Yeah.
Whoever was prepared to stay out on the court for 1 minute longer. That grit, determination, resiliency. And our coach, he was so pretty average that I was sort of the coach and the player anyway at the time. And I say that with love and kindness in my heart because he just didn't have enough tools in his coaching toolkit to maximise our coaching teenage girls or in their low 20s. So what an experience. What an experience.
And so then the national coach for Australia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is excuse me, but what's the Australian team? That's not like Davis Cup or...
Yeah, so I took away all the teenage Junior Fed Cup. So all the... I took... so represent Australia 20 times as a national coach. So under 12s, under 14s, under 16s on numerous occasions, all the Asia Oceania tours and then...
So you would have had some names then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the latest tour that I took away, good story actually from a coaching perspective. Very briefly, I'll just share that with 3 different personalities on the team. And so if I had taken that team away in chapter 1 of my life, I don't think I would have had that much success. It wasn't until I sort of studied emotional intelligence and neurolinguistic programming and really what does it take to unpack human behaviour that I was able to adapt my communication style, still be my authentic self as a leader, as a coach, but how do I adapt my communication to be able to bring out the best in those 3 individuals? We were the incredible Raging Elephants. We stood for improvement, respect and enjoyment. We did everything just a little bit better than a lot of other countries, which helped us. We did win Asia Oceania. It was 2018 and Olivia Gadecki was in the team. She played in the Australian Open just gone. Yeah, so that's just an example of some of the teams that sort of I've taken away and been able to create a real culture, even in short timeframes, to have something hang their hats on, to be able to then have the success. And then we finished 5th in Budapest. That was a tongue twister, wasn't it? That was
say it again.
Yeah, say it 10 times.
What a set of experiences to build your toolkit then for being able to talk to leaders about coaching. Because you obviously with a team like that, that's leadership, isn't it? Dealing with different
100%.
personalities, competition, emotions, winners and losers. So you talk about the difference between being a leader and a coach. How does a leader become both?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why this workshop has been so pivotal and timely and topical, because my core philosophy is the leader as coach is the way of now. And so what I mean by that, and I do spend a bit of time in my workshops really clarifying what do I mean, because obviously we wear many hats as a leader. So I go over what's a manager, what's a mentor, also what's a sports coach. The very first Vistage presentation I did, I sort of crashed and burned a little bit because I think they thought I was there to teach them how to be a sports coach, which was very comical. And then what is a business coach? So I'll just even share a quick story around that, if I may, around how my 2 worlds sort of collided, because The Inner Game of Tennis by Timothy Galway, fantastic book for those of you who are out there, actually worked with Sir John Whitmore, arguably one of the godfathers of business coaching, to help define the definition of business coaching, which is coaching is unlocking a person's to maximise their own performance. And I'd been coaching for, at that point, quite a while. And then I heard this definition and I was like, whoa, this business coaching is really something else. I was
unlocking their own
potential.
Yeah.
And I had been a technical junkie and I thought my job as a coach was to get all of my knowledge out of my head into the student. And then the CEO of Open Door Coaching, shout out to an amazing woman, Natalie Ashdown, that co-authored the book with me, What Makes a Great Coach. She made me take a tennis lesson and a business coaching session where I wasn't allowed to give one piece of advice. It was such another aha moment in my life. And so Sir John Whitmore worked with Timothy Galway to define that and use 2 concepts within the tennis book. One is that the opponent within one's head is more formidable than the one down the other end of the court. And if a coach can help to reduce or remove an internal obstacle, a natural ability will flow forth, without much technical input from the coach.
Okay, so the opponent in your head, I've heard the saying, if you're in your own head, you're behind enemy lines.
Ooh, I like
Isn't that
one.
nice?
That's really
Yeah.
nice. That really resonates.
Yeah, and then the second one was a good coach can unlock the block, and so then your own natural ability. So is that assuming that everyone has the natural ability to be able to, well, I guess they do, to reach their full potential? Everyone's got ability to reach their full potential.
I'm one of those people who've spent my life in talent, and I do believe that talent is within all of us. And I do believe that people do want to grow and learn. It's about the buttons that we push in at the right time. It's about the curiosity and the questions we ask in the moment. And you know, when I think about the biggest challenges in the US and Australia right now, they're more similar than we realise. When I get out the whiteboard and say, right, hit me with your people management challenges to connect with the amazing Vistage groups that I'm very honoured to be able to meet, so much of it is around complacency, poor performance, quiet quitting,
Productivity.
It's all, you know, and even the latest research is still so high, those numbers, that coaching, the leader as coach with those curiosities, the skill set to be able to unlock, and the word I love to use, Stephanie, is pull out that which lives within rather than push my map of the world onto somebody. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I'm thinking about the challenges as leaders. And you talk about under pressure because, I mean, a leader will say all the time, well, now, you know, it's unprecedented times, Emma. And the pressure on leaders, it's kind of a little bit like, all right, here we go again. Yeah. Buckle up. This is going to get interesting. So under pressure, you know, with that idea, I guess I subscribe to that under pressure, people will move towards their natural preferences in
100%.
how they operate.
Totally agree.
So how can you support a leader in that time to unblock the frustration, fear, uncertainty, to let their own absolute leadership ability flow before then they're going to start to work with individuals or the team? How would you help a leader do that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question.
It's a long question, but thank you for understanding.
Yeah, no, and you know, again, as maybe this is a cop-out, but every leader's different,
Of course.
as we know. So the way I might handle somebody and the types of questions I might ask for one might be different from somebody else. But as a general place to begin, listening and being really present, which is so hard to do. I always start my Vistage workshops as well by just saying, let's get your head where your feet are.
Yeah.
Because, and how I handle leaders in that situation, first of all, I talk about performing with pressure. There's pressure all around us.
Nice.
And I don't, you know, remember I come from this high performance sporting background.
Yeah.
Where even when you represent your country, there is no greater pressure.
Yeah.
And same with a leader that's about to close a big deal or whatever it is. So in that moment, being able to understand how you get grounded, how present you can be to tap into the moment and to anchor yourself.
Get your head where your feet are.
Get your head where your feet are. That's how you'll be able to perform with pressure. It's a nice little reframe on pressure, but I have seen it time and time again, those that try and suppress pressure or block it or
Stress.
it just rears its ugly. It comes out in an unresourced way at the most inappropriate time.
Yes.
So obviously being prepared is huge. And I read once about, you know, I have met Serena Williams a couple of times. Great early lesson in rapport building, actually, because she wanted to talk about shopping down Chapel Street and Melbourne coffee, of course, right?
Yeah.
She loves Australia.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about tennis. But
Yeah.
I remember, you know, even her saying early in her career, she was so prepared that she was ready. In the middle section of her career, she had a lot of injuries. So she said, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then in the third part of her career, she's like, well, I'm Serena Williams. The brand is, you're going to be scared of the brand, right?
Yeah.
Anyone that was playing against her. So I like that from a perspective of young leaders, where be as prepared as you can be and then be present. Because as you know, pressure in the corporate world is the hamster wheel where everyone's just spinning, and eventually when you're spinning the 10 tops, you're bound to let a couple fall. If not, all of them will come crashing down again, usually at not a great time. So I love starting with teaching leaders how to be fully present and helping them, if they've done the preparation, how do you then tap into your superpowers? I definitely think of a modern leader is one of them, for example, is, or I'll give you two if I may, curiosity and energy.
Yeah. Yes. It's such an curiosity is a beautiful word. Energy is such an interesting one because I'm probably not quite at your level, matching your level of energy, but, come with a certain level of energy. And the challenge as a leader is not to let others almost plug themselves in and take that from you. It's how you can galvanize with that energy but not have it sapped from you by everyone kind of living off it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. And being able to understand, I talk about in my book, how do we top up energy to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, the self-compassion, the self-care, to have that awareness first for me to be able to give is something that is so important. Even a simple exercise, I do lots of tangible things. So a lot of my workshops is learn through play. I do believe that we're born to play. And so having them just write down what they did for themselves and then for their team and for the company on a sheet of paper, rip it up, just scrunch them up, put them in the buckets, and then we tip the buckets upside down.
Yeah.
And always, 9 times out of 10, the bucket for themselves is the one that's hardly anything drops out.
Yeah.
Nice little visual.
Yeah.
People to even just have a think about as a leader. I know we have to prioritise that, otherwise you're not going to be able to perform with pressure.
Leaders. It's really hard for leaders though, isn't it?
It is.
And I guess the same for it's part of the profession of being a high performance sports person.
Correct.
Because that's a given. Like a massage,
it's a given.
It's part of your day job.
It's a given. Absolutely.
Whereas leaders, there's the worst thing I think that you can say to a highly pressured leader. You've got to look after yourself, because that's just like, it sort of feels like even more stress. So there's something really powerful there. I look forward to reading that part in the book, actually.
Yes. Yeah, there is. And I think a better question in those moments I've found is some really nice laser questions, or simply around, what do you need from me? What resources can I support you with? Who do you need me to contact? Or something along, just some nice little laser questions just to let them know that you are there, you're supporting them. And I think that's what Vistage does so well, because of the vulnerability in the issue processing section, even to have those different opinions. When I first started, I sat through the issue processing to understand what they do. And I really love the fact that you can have that type of support when you're feeling the pressure.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And with people who care about you, but they're sort of not really invested in your business, they're invested in you. Absolutely, that's true. So when I'm thinking about a leader and being curious and energy and all, that's a whole conversation on its own. How can a leader coach many at once? So I'm thinking of a leader dealing with a whole team at one time on maybe trying to get to higher performance, or having a whole team around an issue in the business, or just trying to build a culture within the team. What's an approach a leader can take to do that with the whole group at once from a coaching perspective?
So what comes to mind around curiosity is my cat, right? Curiosity killed the cat.
Of course.
Of course. Shout out to Rusty. I hope you're doing. See you soon, mate. Curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought it back. So with my cat strategies to elevate leaders' curiosity, the C is twofold. It's catch your assumptions. And the other part of C is create a coaching curiosity culture.
Yeah, catch your assumptions.
Yes.
That's the killer of curiosity, isn't it?
Yes, correct. The A is ask curious questions that begin with things like I wonder if, I wonder what's possible when, what's the truth here? Some beautiful little coaching questions that just came to mind there around the A. And then the T is trust. Trust that curiosity lives within your people. Trust that you have the answer. Trust that they can generate options. So if I was coaching a large group of people, you can see the laminated toolkit that each of the people get.
I've got some reading
Yes.
to do after
Yes.
this one. I'm really excited.
We use the Sir John Whitmore, the GROW model. It's such
Yeah.
a simple model. It's been
is
around for years.
It's a great model.
And the curiosity piece comes where one leader needs to be spending at least 75% of their time in that model, which is the O, which is the options. So those who haven't heard, G, goal, what's the goal, what's a reality? And then the options phase is where curiosity is, where you can breed it and you can ask questions just left of centre, out of the box, out of the square. And then obviously the accountability piece, which is huge, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, to help with all those challenges that leaders face with people management, accountability, even if we are working from home or whatever the situation is. That is a huge moment and opportunity. As a coach, I sort of pride myself on anyone that I coach. There's no way you're leaving a session without a game plan.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The game plan can be simple, it can be complex, but something that you said that you're going to commit to. So that's that beautiful integrity piece too. So that's one really simple tool that we use within the workshop as an example that anyone can use. Awesome for groups. And just on that note, back to the, even the GROW tool, most people spend too long in reality.
Yeah. And everyone gets depressed.
Everyone gets depressed. So that's one thing. And usually the game plan can be sometimes a little, what we call wiggle words. One Vistage member had a great aha moment in one of my workshops recently when he said, I always say, leave it with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, and now I'm more stressed and now I have to add more time to my
I'm not
load.
going to do it. Do you know the thing I find in a group session like that? You get to the game plan at the end of the day when everyone's exhausted. It's the same as any strategy session. You're kind of doing the most important work when everyone's done. And I think I've learnt my lesson of break your session up.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good point about falling in the trap of too much reality. Because, I'll bring the data in and we'll talk about it and let's really look into this, and that can be the challenge. You want to get to options pretty quickly, don't you?
Absolutely. And then don't rush the game plan. The game plan is how we help people be accountable and help them move forwards. And that's the other thing I love about coaching. It's future-based. Yeah, we have to unpack a little bit of the past.
Yeah.
Okay, certainly there's some great questions around there about what have we already done or tried, but it's future-based. And my TEDx talk is called Unleashing Female Potential, and I really designed it for how do we strengthen the inner voice of teenage girls and support people working with. That was the purpose of it. But there are two key words within that talk: the power of next time. Yeah. If you throw next time in front of almost anything, right? We can go down a path of, rather than dwelling in what went wrong, I'm not saying we always need to bring those things up. Otherwise, like I said earlier, they'll come back unresourcefully. But we do need to say, right, just if you had your time over, what are you going to do differently?
Yeah.
Even better what's going to happen next time, next
so
time.
powerful for
And
young.
quick. and easy.
So my story, I have
Yeah.
a 3-year-old granddaughter
Oh, wow.
who was at our place, and there was a loose mat on the floorboards, and she tripped on it. And she was crying and whatever. And she didn't say, that was so bad, or that. She said, next time, I won't do that again. And
Powerful.
I said, well, actually, I'm going to move it because I think it's dangerous. But it was incredible. I thought, that is such a good mindset. Just stay like that.
That's ahead of the years.
Yep, it is. And it was like, stay like that.
Yeah.
Don't ever change. Don't stop blaming what's around you. Just say, next time I'm going to do X.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I think at the end of the day, again, if a leader can take one thing from this conversation, such as that, and add it to their leadership toolkit, it's so important because, people follow people, not job titles.
Yeah.
And that's a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
No, that's okay. It was nice to be able to give her a mention. Can I dig into what you said about if as a coach, as a leader, you can unlock that thing in a person, then their true ability will shine through. What does that block look like? What are some of examples of what that block is?
About almost, obviously, I was going through the list of things in my head.
Get your head where your feet are.
Yes.
Emma, that'll help you.
Yeah. Look at that. Stephanie's coaching me on the podcast. So good. I would have to say that negativity, we have 65,000 thoughts a day and 80% of those are negative. So quite often the map that someone's bringing to work, and now many people are bringing their whole self to work, whether that's appropriate or not.
It's a reality.
It's a reality that we see time and time again. The glass being half empty and what we even just playing below the line. So the blame, the frustration, the negativity, the problems, causing more problems is another concept that we do within Leader as Coach to help somebody from just having a negative mindset. It's also the third highest reason why athletes fail. So just bringing it back to the athletic world, a friend of mine did a study with Olympic athletes out of Harvard, and there were 5 top reasons. It was the third reason was negativity. So even at the highest level of sport, that inner voice just
about themselves or negative about whatever?
About whatever.
The court's slow, this is silly.
Yes.
That ball boy's.
Yeah, it's often a lot of blame. That's not my
yeah.
role. That's not my customer. That's not my client. Well, such and such a person should have done it, but they were always sick and now you're blaming me.
Yeah.
So above the line, below the line is a really nice coaching concept where when somebody does come into, say, your office and says, I've got a real problem with X, Y, and Z, how do you then go from playing below the line to above the line?
Yes.
And one of the things that we do with that, once obviously it is important to acknowledge the person and almost disarm the crossed arms, right? Really open up that posture, is to then ask a really beautiful question. Depending on what the real problem is. So if it's something to do with no one communicated this change with me, how can we best communicate this change to you next time?
Yeah, nice.
So thank you for coming to see me, et cetera. And then just something as simple as that is one of these ways and one of the tools that a leader can use to really tap into this situation, because in people's minds, these problems are real. But often, as we know through the subconscious, we generalize, delete, and distort. We know no other. So I think this is why questions are the answer.
Well,
for
the
the
other
modern
thing
leader.
I'm thinking about is the leader. I really liked the Rusty reference about check your assumptions. Because if someone is exuding that negativity block, it's going to hit your assumption straight away of they are so negative.
Correct.
So that's your own block happening.
Absolutely.
And the two of you are in the worst possible space.
Yeah.
So it's having the toolkit as a leader of thinking, curiosity, question.
Yes.
Where are they
Listen,
at?
be present,
Yeah.
and then be able to move forward with a game plan.
And so by being present and asking the killer question about, well, what would make a difference next time for you?
Great question.
Well, it's disarming.
Correct. And even internally, sometimes a great question is, I wonder what's going on for this person for them to be reacting in this way. Because as a leader, there are 3 beautiful circles. One's a circle of concern, which is where the person is, perhaps who's come into your office. There's a circle of control, what's within my direct control. And where champions live is a circle of influence.
Yeah.
Choosing how you respond, not how you react, which is 100% what we're talking about. So that's a champion mindset right there.
So put that on the tennis court for me. You're coaching, one of your wonderful tennis players. What's the difference between responding and reacting on the tennis court?
So on the tennis court, it plays out in all sorts of ways, depending on, of course, the personality of the player.
Yeah.
But you see the great players, if something goes wrong, they won't just react in a way because they know that'll fuel the motivation within the person down the other end of the court. So that's the first thing. They may react based on their personality if after a certain time frame of a continuous, whether it be their own performance, whether it be certain things a little bit out of their control, such around some line calls that might have gone the wrong way. And I encourage that release of energy. And we call it either a snap release. So, for example, if you imagine a hair tie, you lift it up for 3 seconds, you're allowed to be mad, you're allowed to be emotional, you're allowed to be angry, whatever it is, and then bam, snap.
Yeah.
Saying the word stop, reset, and then focusing on the future. Return to the present, execute and deliver. So on the court, that's an example of, if I'm thinking about best case scenario, somebody who's trained in, that's the snap release technique with some anchoring before they play each point to get them grounded. They're things that a leader can all benefit from as well. But that's how it shows up on the tennis court.
Yeah.
People that aren't trained with any sort of routine or mindset tools, then you'll see they just react. And that reaction, 9 times out of 10, does not cause them to play better tennis. And I will add, Stephanie, in all my years of coaching, which is a few now, I've only ever met 3 girls where I said, you need to step up and win for Australia today. One of them does live in Sydney. And just because we're doing this live in Sydney.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's
so
great.
one of those, so in other words, to put all that outcome pressure on somebody who, so the rest of the players, it was almost like we had to focus on those micro tools and the process and the strategy and the tactics. Same in the workplace. It's almost like, yes, we want productivity, we want profit, and we want performance. We know the 3 Ps. Everyone knows that. Now, they're all the outcome goals. They're the metrics we need to hit.
And this is how we're going to do it.
That's how, and then we focus all our energy on how we're going to do it. And then we be present, we trust our intuition, and we be in the moment and we deliver.
But am I right then that those 3 young women,
Yes.
you did that because you knew
Correct.
that they'd deliver? Because
Yes.
there are people in your workplace that you can say,
Step up.
you need to step up and
Correct.
win for Australia and New Zealand today.
Correct. Yep. Step up, get the job done, get the contract. We need this contract. Put all the pressure on them.
And they'll deliver it.
And they'll deliver it.
Because that might motivate them, or you've already unblocked the thing, and so that's why they're giving their very best self.
Yeah. But it's and in the workplace, it's probably 5% or less
Yeah, it is.
where I've come across that type of person.
But they're good when you see them.
This is talent. This is my life. I've spent my life in talent.
And the leader may well be that person too.
Yes, absolutely.
So
they quite often are. And
Yeah.
that's why also, can I just add,
Yeah.
especially in the United States, we still have a strong direct and tell culture,
Yes.
command and control culture from the top down. And I think that's the one thing I've loved about really immersing myself in Vistage, Australia, New Zealand, is the fact that It's more of a collaborative culture. It's not top down, and they understand what coaching is. I don't have to spend as much time on that, and that's also why I'm so excited to be heading back to the States soon to show them what's possible, because I feel that's what I felt.
Well, that's really interesting and culturally different, because you can try command and control here, but there'll be a mutiny on day one.
Yeah.
There is so much, Emma. I'm going to listen to this again. I could talk to you for days. And when when you're out next year, I'm going to book a lot more time.
Yes.
And I commit to getting you in front of so many more of our members, because I think this is so exciting, everything you have to offer.
Thank you.
And I'm going to read your book.
Thank you.
But I think what really landed with me today was the idea that the opponent in your head is the toughest player you will ever play. I think that's really interesting. I think the idea of cat is curiosity killed the cat. It's really cool.
And satisfaction brought it back.
It's just about questions. And we've had so many guests on this podcast talking about the questioning leader and asking the right questions. I think that you've brought a fresh approach to it. Sport is always really interesting, and it seems to work very well in this country. But it's such an interesting analogy. Your stories are fantastic. It has been a pleasure to meet you. Emma Doyle, thank you so much for joining us today on Vistage Live.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Stephanie.